Welcome, world. Welcome to Professional Spotlight Series, where we do what people, we dive into the journeys of professionals from all walks of life. These conversations have given me fresh perspectives, and I hope they do the same for you as you navigate your own career path. I'm super excited about today's conversation because we are diving into a field that's an cutting edge technology, quantum computing. It's not just science fiction anymore. It's the future of computing, and we have got someone who is right on the forefront of it. But that's not all. She isn't just a brilliant mind in the lab, she's also got fascinating blend of interests such as Indian classical music. From her roots in India to her journey through the world of academia in the US, she's carved out an impressive path. So, whether you are a tech enthusiast, a music lover, or just someone curious about how one navigates the complexities of life and career across different cultures, this episode is packed with insights and stories you don't want to miss. Please join me in welcoming Rutuja Kshirsagar, research scientist at Fujitsu Research of America. Rutuja, welcome. How is it going?
Hello, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Tanmay. It's good. It's been going well. It's exciting to be working in quantum computing and generally being a research scientist was always a dream. So it feels nice to be living your dream for sure.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and let's get into the conversation. We have a lot to cover. So let's take a step back and get into your origin story. So where are you from and what's your origin story?
So I come from this town in India called Pune. Did my schooling in Pune for a bit, and then I did my undergrad in BITS Goa. I first got a taste of research, uh, and then I came to the US for my PhD.
Did you always want to do research? Was that something that you realized after moving to your undergrad?
That's a good question. I think at this point I am a little dicey about when I wanted it, but I think as long as I can remember, I wanted to do a PhD.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think it started somewhere in my 12th grade or like 11th, 12th, is somewhere where
Okay.
I thought, yeah, that's something that I would like to do. But I think it got stronger and stronger when I started doing more research projects during my undergrad. So, like, I think it became clear to me that, okay, mathematics is something that I want to pursue. Research is something that I would probably want to develop. I think I was always clear that I didn't want to do a typical 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Uh, and though I'm doing that, uh, I'm working in an industry, so I'm still doing a 9 to 5 job. But I like the challenge that comes with research, right? And I'm not saying anything bad about 9 to 5 jobs. They're equally challenging.
If you want to work 9 to 5, you would rather want to work on something that you love or passionate about than just being stuck at something you hate, right? So that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. No. I'm not demeaning any standard 9 to 5 job. The challenges are very different. It's just like I just am more suited towards the challenges that come through the research industry.
Right. And when you decided to go into mathematics and electronics, in engineering and electronics, what influenced you to go in that direction? Was it something that you realized about yourself that you're drawn to these subjects, especially mathematics?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've always loved mathematics in school.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and this might feel a little childish now, but like I think when like around 11th and 12th grade, I was doing a lot of Dan Brown reading. So in particular, I remember reading Da Vinci Code and Digital Fortress. And like I think the female cryptographer slash number theorist characters in those books really inspired me. That like I found what they did very cool at the time as like a young girl. Like patterns and numbers and strategies and logic was interesting. Along with it, like the thrill aspect of the characters also did inspire me for sure. I think I that's why I picked up mathematics. Some aspects of the math that came in the undergrad studies were different, though
Right.
obviously like abstract mathematics can get
Mhm.
heavy, and it is very different from what you study in your previous high school days. But still, I think I enjoyed math.
It's always interesting to know these stories. So, after you graduated from your undergrad, you immediately moved to the US. How did you navigate, and what was the path like leading up to your PhD?
I was working on some projects in number theory, and I found those projects to be interesting. So I took the thesis route of
Okay.
um, like finishing up credits in the last year of my
Okay.
undergrad. I think by that time I was pretty sure that I wanted to apply for a PhD.
Was it a no-brainer to move to the US, or did you think of other options once you finished your undergrad?
I think that's a very good question. There were a lot of options that I considered. I did consider a few options in Europe,
Mhm.
Australia, and I think even when I got my offer from my well, I started my PhD at Clemson University initially
I
with
see.
my advisor. So when I got my offer from Clemson, I also had another offer from Australia, and I was sort of contemplating between the two. What drew me towards US more than Australia was like I think when I got the offer from Australia, it sort of already had a title of what I would be doing, which was like I mean I knew what I was getting into because during my interviews like I had read those papers and I had discussed with the professor what the projects would be. I just like the idea of exploring and at any point like having the freedom to change, and probably I think US became a more clearer choice because of the freedom that I got. And
Mhm.
maybe my idea of like, how it would have been in Australia was wrong. I think I just got a little intimidated about
Being
having
constrained with
that
what you have
very,
to do. Yeah,
yes, yes,
I
yes.
see.
And yeah.
But so I was preparing for our conversation today. I was looking at your profile and trying to see what you have done so far. And it's first of all, it's quite impressive. And
You.
it seems like you have had a smooth ride straight from your bachelor's to your PhD and now as a research scientist. But was it really so straightforward? I'm sure there must have been challenges, and that's what I would like to know because for an outsider, it seems like wow, like that's quite impressive profile. You're smart and you have been doing all these amazing things in amazing places. But was it really so straightforward? What kind of challenges did you face, and what was the learning from those?
Yeah, good question. No, no, it wasn't that straightforward. And I am grateful that it all worked out fine. And thank you for saying that it looks smooth and impressive. As someone who's done a PhD, like I think by default it comes with a lot of challenges, right? But in India, you are so focused about success and the definition of success being achieving something, finishing your goals. In PhD or in research, generally those things start crumbling down, right? I think the biggest challenge in absorbing that kind of research was to realize that, okay, research is going to be 90% failure and 10% success. And that failure is just not, I think failure is a wrong way to define it. It is just that like 90% of the things are just not going to go the way you expect them to go is
Right,
a better way of saying that, and coming to terms with the fact that that doesn't mean that you have failed. It's
right,
just like it's not what you expected, and it is okay. Like
right.
something works out in the end and it might be different from what you expect. Realization that this is okay, this is very normal in research was hard.
PhD is like a marathon, right? You can't just sprint your way through it. So you need to have patience, and your guide, your professor plays a very important role. People around you in your research group, I mean, a lot of help from them defines your success in a way as well. So there are so many factors. So, I mean, what I can conclude from what you just said is patience and not being very hard on yourself, because things take time, and being resilient.
Yeah, yeah, that helps a lot for sure.
And what was your topic for your PhD?
So I was working in something called coding theory, which
Hmm.
is a field of subfield of algebra sort of, and
Yeah.
it has applications in communications. So to give you a simple example, let's say I'm sending you a text message, right? So now that text message has to go from my phone to your phone, and it has to reach in the exact same way. So
Mhm.
whatever I type up gets converted into zeros and ones. It is transmitted on a channel, and this channel is not always going to be perfect, right? It
Right.
is going to have some sort of distortion. Some parts are going to get erased, some parts are going to get changed. At the end, you receive something,
Hmm.
and this received zeros and ones have to be converted back to exactly what I sent you, right?
Right.
That is the whole purpose of the communication. So how do you deal with this challenge of converting my text message into this whole idea of zeros and ones, or like there are other ways of converting it in like slightly bigger fields, like field is a mathematical element.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then how do you efficiently do this conversion so that like whatever distortion happens in the channel, at the end you can design some algorithm to uh, correct whatever went wrong. And
Hmm.
of course there is some limitation, some threshold in how much uh, distortion your converting back process or decoding process takes.
I
So
see. I
I
see.
was working on both these ends, encoding and decoding. So like converting into zeros and one and converting back from zeros and ones. So I think that was my focus. And this has a little bit of extended application to cryptography, which is another layer of security now. This
Mhm.
communication
Mhm.
has to happen in a secured way, in the sense that how I'm encoding, how I'm decoding is private. You don't
Right.
want
Right.
that information
Is
to.
that part of the end-to-end encryption that, I mean, you have on WhatsApp and like emails?
Yes, so the privacy element comes
Right.
from the additional layer of encryption. So there is encryption and there is encoding, there is decryption and there is decoding. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Quite relevant.
Yeah.
When was the first time you got into the field of quantum computing?
So I finished my PhD in February of 22.
Hmm.
But during my PhD, I was interning at a couple of places because I was in that trial phase of whether I want to be in academia, whether I want to be in the industry. So I was trying out different internships to figure that out. And in one of the internships that I was doing, I was working with this national lab here in the US in
Hmm.
Chicago. It's called the Fermi National Accelerator Lab, where I came across a professor who was doing nice things in quantum computing. And that's something that I wanted to explore. So we talked together and we came up with a project and decided to do that. And when I was doing that, I realized that I like what I was doing. I also realized that I wanted to be in the industry because that suited my way of research and ideas
Right.
in general. So I think the liking for quantum, the spot in the industry for what I was doing with respect to that, and then the scope of extending what I'm doing in my
Right.
PhD,
Right. Right.
that so that everything felt like a good fit for me.
Mhm.
So that's how I decided to move into that space. And I was fortunate enough that I got an opportunity for a postdoc at this company called Zapata AI. They were formerly called Zapata Computing in Boston.
I see.
Uh, so, yeah, that's how I switched slowly from like pure coding theory to like the quantum side of things.
Wow. I mean, again, it seems like a smooth transition when you look at it, right? Because it's a lot of things had to fall in place, and it did for you. And it was very fortunate because, from my experience, after you do your PhD, sometimes you are narrowing down your options. You don't have as many opportunities as you would because you become an expert of something very particular thing, and that just is good and bad at the same time. It's bad especially if you want to move into the industry because there are not so many things that you can apply, but in your case it stars were aligned and you made the most out of the opportunities you had. So pretty amazing stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely agree. I just got very lucky because, like you said, it's a struggle to, and especially when like you are of a theory background, it's even hard to find that footing in the industry, because you are not like, I mean, as an academic researcher in general, you are not skilled for industry. So the internships part helped me a little bit, but like I think the postdoc was where I learned so much more about how to fit into the industrial standards. And I'm still like, it's still a learning process. It's a huge change of mentality that I am
Mm.
going through. Uh, but yeah, like you said, I really got lucky with how things
Yeah,
worked out.
cheers to you. I think
Thank you.
efforts paid off. So I am not very familiar, and I am sure people who will be listening to this might not be also very familiar with what quantum computing is. So how would you explain it in the simplest way possible what it is?
We convert our information currently on classical computers, or generally the networks that we're using so far, to this space of zeros and ones, right?
Mhm.
Where it is very clear you have a zero or you have a one. Now, quantum goes a step beyond that and allows you to convert your information to anything between a zero and one.
Okay.
Instead of having that cut off of either zero or one, anything in between could also be your information symbol.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it is more of a probabilistic model in the sense that depending on now bits become qubits. So zeros and ones are called bits.
Mhm.
Uh, and these new states are called qubits. So you say that something on the spectrum of 0 to 1, depending on how many qubits you want, you will have certain probabilities assigned to each of these.
I see. Okay.
So your information become like you get a lot more parallelization of information that can happen. So what this gives you is the advantage of having things done together.
Mhm.
uh, and that's why the computing becomes faster. The drawback that comes with it is the sort of errors that you have to handle with becomes
Mhm.
much larger, right? Because like transition from 0 to 1 suddenly feels very big now. Anything in between also becomes of importance, which means that like you slightly deviate and there is more error, and that you
Mhm.
have to deal with that error, and that can change your outcomes. And then this adds a lot more instability
Mhm.
to the
Mhm.
devices.
If I understand it right, if we ask a classical computer to build a toy, the classical
Mhm.
computer will build a toy one thing at a time, but a quantum computer will build the toy simultaneously. So the amount of time a classical computer will take to build a toy will be, let's say, 15 minutes, but a quantum computer can do the same thing in 5 seconds, maybe.
Correct, that's true. Like the parallelization of
Right, right,
tasks
right.
is happening. Yeah, so that part comes in the information processing, rather not necessarily in the hardware
Right.
assembly.
Yeah. Okay.
That
Okay. Fujitsu, that's where you're working. So can you tell us a little bit about where you're working and what kind of work you're doing that is contributing to the larger theme of Fujitsu?
Sure. I am working as a research scientist in the quantum computing lab at Fujitsu. Fujitsu has various quantum related things that are happening in different parts of the world. So we have a few quantum teams spread across the world, and we are trying to look at end-to-end technology. So right from the basics of hardware development and what sort of technologies in hardware are the best, to the extreme other end of like developing software for these and uh, how to develop algorithms and applications. So my work is at more towards that end of the spectrum, where I am dealing with developing quantum algorithms. And because of my background in coding theory, or it is also known as error correction, I am sort of like trying to use my background in classical error correction to see how it translates to uh, the quantum world. So I'm also dealing with a little bit of quantum error correction as a part of my
Mhm.
work at Fujitsu.
And as a researcher in quantum computing, what excites you the most in near future?
I think just this whole idea of working on something that is not existent today, right? Like on a technology that all the pieces of the puzzle are not fitting in. Like we are just like it's like you can think of it like as forming of this puzzle that you are like picking a piece and see if it fits, if it makes sense, and trying to develop a picture that is not known technology of the future that could be a reality, maybe in my lifetime, maybe not in my lifetime. And like I think just that whole aspect is very exciting.
I see. And I think there is no better place to be than Fujitsu, and in particular in the US, right? US is always known for being at the forefront of any technological advancements, may it be artificial intelligence, quantum computing. If you go back in history, there have been so many breakthroughs in cutting edge technologies that we see today. And I'm really excited for you.
Definitely very exciting to be at the forefront of edge technology, being in the industry for something like this, trying to develop, trying to see all that happening around you, interacting with great people who are simultaneously working on this. It's all very exciting.
Wonderful. I'm really happy for you. Talking
Thank you.
about the US, adjusting to the life in the US, I mean, now you have been there for a while, but when you first moved there, did you have to adjust per se, or was it easy for you to get on with your life when you moved?
I think it's been a long time that I don't probably remember all of the challenges. But yeah, like it is very different from where I have grown up in India, for
Mm.
sure. It is a more individualistic lifestyle
Mhm.
here as compared to India, where the social aspect is very different. So there are pros and cons to that. And I think it does take some readjustment. But for the large part, I think I enjoy the lifestyle that US has to offer, and it's pretty interesting.
What is the best part about your life in the US, and what do you miss about India?
I think the best part about life here is kind of independence, that being on your own, doing a lot of things. Sure, it gets challenging sometimes, like to do everything by yourself, right? Like your house chores and everything. Like
Right.
I'm sure it is the same in Europe too, but like I think it's very different from how we did back in India, right?
Correct.
But I think that independence can get challenging sometimes, but I think I love it. What I miss about India is, I think, family. US in particular is quite far
Far.
away. So it's not like, okay, I decided to go back home. I can go for a week and come back. It has to be more planned.
Mhm, mhm.
Easy access to seeing your family that often is something that I miss for sure.
When
Yeah,
did
go
the
ahead.
interest in classical singing start?
Oh, interest in classical singing. I think as long as I can remember, I started training when I was 5 or 6, and
Wow.
at that point, like I think I just like my parents just put me for a class, and I was just doing it, but I was enjoying it. I did it
Mhm.
until like my 10th or 11th grade. I was doing all these. So there are these different exams that happen in Indian classical music training. So I was doing that. I sort of took a break from that training during my undergrad or my PhD because obviously I think um, those things took more demand at that
Right.
time. I was doing little music for myself, but I was not like training properly. Once I started my job at Fujitsu here, I started training again. Yeah, so since then, like I've been more active in music again.
Nice. So you have found your circle where you can get together, practice. That's really wonderful. And I think that really helps you to maintain this work-life balance as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think music is therapy for me. It like I think when I am stressed with work, music is my go-to place. So like I think having that on the side, and I think I'm blessed because in the Bay Area there is so much access to it, very easy access to
Mhm.
so many events that happen in the musical circles.
Wow.
uh, that it's an outlet when things are not going right in work and when I'm stressed, or simply like just like as a stress buster in every day when you're tired, like you just come, you meet people, you jam with them. Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's
it.
wonderful, and I think that keeps you going, especially as an expat where you are already difficult to establish yourself and work and all the things that you mentioned to be independent, more responsibilities. So it can get tough. So identifying something that you love so much and are passionate about, and then to pursue it, it's wonderful. It keeps you
Thank
sane.
you. Yes, it does definitely, and I should say I'm lucky to have that opportunity.
As an expat, what kind
Mhm.
of perspective shift did you experience after going through different phases of your life, right? So,
Oh, lots. The whole journey was a growing experience, right? Like through my journey, I have been blessed to meet amazing people. Like you said, like bits, we had an excellent peer system. Like so many people were so ambitious, so smart. Like I think it was a great learning experience. It started from there, and then like I moved to the US. People, I mean everyone who is moved from one country to another faces that change and challenge of like settling in a new country, at the same time like having these professional goals and aspirations that you've come with, the challenges of sometimes that place not being exactly what you had imagined it to be. Like for example in the US, like I think when you come from India you have this very set idea of like a few big cities in the US.
right.
Whereas when you come to your university towns, life is very different there. Like it's more quiet and very, in some parts, secluded also. And like it's a very different perspective shift in the sense that okay, this is not what I was expecting, and I'm not saying it in like it's a bad thing. It's just like a difference of expectation that happens, right? So accommodating and adjusting to that itself was also a learning experience. But like I said, like people around, like every phase of my life, I've been blessed with great friends, great peers, a good support system, both family and otherwise, like has been a great learning experience. And then like overcoming these challenges, forming your ideas as you grow through this process. So in general, like I think yes,
Yeah,
the learning curve has been very steep and amazing.
important point that you raised, and especially for people who are maybe considering moving outside of India, the image that you have in your head, oh, it's all amazing, etc. You have this idea of first world countries that everything is perfect. You everything is grass
Yeah.
is super green on this side, and it's not. The reality is at times different from what you think, and to be aware and to know, to do your own research before you take such decisions, because it could be life changing decisions. I mean,
True,
I know
true.
a lot of people who moved out but realized that, oh, this is
This
not
is not
something
for
for
me.
me,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
go back. There is no right and wrong in this, you in this going out or staying in India, but just to be aware of everything before you take such a decision is a crucial consideration.
Definitely. People who are considering that should know what they are getting into, and it's not always easy at maybe a younger age, but like I think trying to obtain that clarity of why I'm doing a certain thing, what are my reasons, and does it suit me? Just
Right.
because it worked out for someone else, does it make it right for me, is a question everyone should ask.
Excellent point. You start to value things more when you look back at things. It shaped me in a certain way into who I am, right? So small things that play role in your life, they help you change your perspective and shape you to become who you are today. So, and you only realize those things after a while.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think for most of us, like our journeys have not always been as we had expected it to be, right? But sometimes something that did not work out according to your expectation uh, brings out this whole bunch of opportunities for you. And I think looking back at even what went wrong, or what did not happen the way you wanted it to happen, it's just like this whole feeling of gratefulness that, you know what, like it still led me to where I am today, and
Absolutely.
it's a good place to be in for sure.
Rutuja, let's switch gears to something a bit more fun. We are
Uh-huh.
going to do a rapid fire round
Okay.
and just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
Let's go. If
Uh-huh.
not a scientist, what would you be doing?
I think I would be a musician.
Hmm. I,
Mhm.
I I think that was an easy one.
Yeah. I think that was an easy one too.
Music you listen to while working.
Instrumental music, flute or santoor, in the
Uh-huh,
Hindustani
uh-huh.
classical. Yeah, either that or sometimes Bollywood, but
Yep.
most, yeah, yeah.
Depending on what work you do, I guess.
Yeah, correct, depending on what work I'm doing.
If you could instantly master one skill, what would that be?
Oh, that's a hard one. Oh, I don't have a great answer to that. I have to think about this. That's an intriguing
You-
question.
You're master of all the skills already.
Oh, no. I think I have so many that I don't think which one I want to master instantly. Presenting myself well in front of people, in the sense that I am very intimidated of like spotlight, or like being a focus of things. So like as a research scientist and as a musician, it doesn't bode well with me
but
that like,
but you're in a perfect place. The podcast is called Professional Spotlight, so it's a good start. That was
yeah,
a
I guess so.
courageous move for you to agree this.
Yeah, yeah. I think like just like like doing this, yeah, something like that. I think that was one part of uh, like accepting this podcast also. Like this is like a challenge about like speaking so much to someone about my journey being in the spotlight. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good start. I'm sure you will
Yes,
be.
thank you.
You'll be fine. Favorite classical singer?
Ashwini Bhire Deshpande.
I mean, I have no idea, but I'll probably look her
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Okay.
Best advice you have ever received?
I think growing up, my dad used to always say low aim is a crime. So I think that is one of the best advice that I have received. Yeah.
That is a very good advice.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with any scientist, dead or alive, who would that be?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe Peter Shor. He's the one who developed this prime factorization algorithm for quantum computing. So yeah, him.
I see.
Mhm.
It makes sense.
Yes.
A song that always puts you in a good mood.
Well, there are a couple. Uh, but have you heard this song Jab Deep Jale Ana? It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
old Hindi song. Yeah.
yes.
So I think I have a lot of fond memories with my family with the
Wow,
songs. Yeah.
wow, very
Yeah.
special.
Yes.
Thank you. That was a fun segment. I think we, I always enjoy rapid fire segments, and
Yeah,
this
you
was
have
certainly
some
fun.
interesting questions there for sure. Nice.
So now looking forward, what are your aspirations professionally and personally on the horizon? What excites you the most?
Personally and professionally, I think professionally, I want to grow more as a research scientist. Like I mentioned before, I am in that shift of from academic training and research to becoming more of a industrial research scientist.
Mhm,
And I sort of want to develop that personality of mine
mhm, mhm.
a little better, like get more acquainted towards what caters to the industry at the same time, like keep up my core roots in research alive. So
I
yeah,
see.
I think professionally that uh,
And would you say doing that in the US? So you see yourself staying in the US for a long haul?
I am not sure about that for sure right now. Like I think I'm figuring it out for
Never
myself
say
where I
never, right?
want to be. Yeah, like I think until 2 years back, if you would have asked me this question, I was very sure about US.
Mhm, mhm,
But my perspective of it is changing a little bit in the sense that, like, there are different opportunities that are opening up in a lot of other spaces, or I am becoming more aware of the kind
mhm.
of opportunities that are coming around in the world too. So I am undecided about
Yeah, you
that.
don't
Like,
want to
I like
limit
the
yourself.
US.
Yeah.
I like the US for sure. I like the lifestyle here. I love the access to the topmost technology for sure. But yeah, like other places could be a consideration too.
No, that's a good open mindset to have.
Yeah.
And at a personal level, what are you excited about?
I think personally, I want to focus more on my music now. I
Mhm.
think it took a back seat in my life, and no regrets about it, but for a long period of time it did take a back seat, and it means to me as much as research means to me. So personally, I think I would like to get better at music.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would love to attend one of your shows in 2 years' time when you when you start
I,
having your concerts all around the globe.
I really wish that that becomes a reality. It would be fun if that does become a reality.
So, as we come to the end of our episode, I ask this question to all my guests. The podcast is called Professional Spotlight Series. So, if you had to put three spotlights on your journey so far, what would those be?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think I have answers to that one. So, first one would be entering into the space of research during
Mhm,
undergrad and realizing that, okay, it aligns with what my expectations are and I'm liking it. That was definitely a spotlight moment. And I think it changed my life for sure because I think at that point I saw clearly what I wanted and where I'm going. That was one. Two was coming to the US for my PhD.
that's a big move.
Yeah, it was a big move, and thankfully it has worked in my favor.
Mm.
uh, I was blessed with a good advisor and a good research environment and a good support system, but net net I think that is something again that changed my life for better.
Mm.
And I think the third thing was switching gears after my PhD from a more academic setup to like a research setup, and particularly picking up quantum computing. Yes, those are definitely three spotlights that have been life changing in a very good way.
Wow, that's really amazing, and it has been really incredible to hear your story and unwrap it. It's inspiring, and I'm sure people listening to this will definitely find it inspiring as well. And people listening back home in India who look up to you will find this helpful tool to guide their and navigate their own journeys. So thanks for opening up, and this has been really amazing. I wish you all the best with your future aspirations, and cheers to whatever you're doing at your job and contributing to the exciting themes of research and music. I can just say that keep doing, and we are cheering for you.
Thank you so much, Tanmay. I think your initiative about talking to people and like having this podcast is amazing, and I'm very grateful for that you invited me here. It's a great opportunity, and this conversation has been so interesting. I'm very glad that I did this, and I am very thankful to you for this opportunity that
The,
you've
the
given.
pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for joining. And that's a wrap for this episode of Unboxing Stories Professional Spotlight Series. I hope you found today's discussion as inspiring and insightful as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback keeps our passion alive and helps us reach more incredible listeners like you. Thanks for listening. I'm Tanmay K, and I look forward to having you join us again for our next episode where we will feature another fascinating professional. Until then, keep striving, keep thriving, and keep unboxing your story. Until then, goodbye.